friends, Eric Andres, your guitar sage here. Welcome. What we're talking about today are problems with bends and how to fix it. This will fix it, what I'm about to show you. If you have problems with your bends, or you would like to know what bending is, how to do it, what's the theory behind it, and all the rest, you've come to the right place. Let's do this. Now, as per our new format, not taking questions in real time just because we want to get in and get out. We want to serve you as much and as quickly and with as much value as possible because your time is very important to me. So, if you'd like to get in touch with me, there's a few different ways you can do it. You can do it on social. You can do it on the text bit that we'll show you here in just a minute. But there's a few different ways that you can get in touch with me. Just hang out here and I'll show you those in just a minute here, okay? I really want to get into this with you. So, bending. Let's talk about it. Bending is when we take a string and we move it up or we move it down, or I could say across the fretboard. And essentially what we're doing is we're changing the pitch, and it's a great way to bring in nuances that make what you're saying sound better, arguably, but we're giving it more diversity. Okay, so instead of me doing something like this, instead of me going, instead of doing that, I could go, you know, I could do a pre-bend like, you know, start up on a higher note and bring it down, or I could bend it up. But essentially what we're doing is we're applying pressure. Typically, most of the time it's going to be on these top three strings and we're bending them up. The rule of thumb is this: top three strings get bent up, bottom three strings get bent down. So you can think about them that they all want to get bent into the center of the guitar. Okay, just think about those center markers right there, and you want to, if you're on the top three strings, you're wanting to bend it more towards the center of the guitar. That's the basic rule there. Now you can break that rule, but the reason that people don't so much is if you're bending on the first string and you want to bend up and you bent this way, well, you're going to fall off the fretboard. We don't want to do that. So that's why we bend towards the center of the guitar. Typically, you're bending with the third finger, I would say, is the most bent finger, or the finger that bends the most strings. That said, you can use any fingers to bend. When you're bending to a specific note. So for instance, or you typically are. Like there's a musical reason why we're doing this. So for instance, if I wanted to play this note, I'm thinking about it with the pitch. I'm not just randomly bending. That's not what we're doing. We're actually bending to a note that is within the scale or the psalm that we're playing. Now, a lot of folks have issues with this because they've never done it before. So just like any new language or any new technique that we're learning in anything, it's going to feel weird. It's going to feel awkward. Guess what? It did for everybody. It did for Hendrix, it did for Eddie Van Halen. It does for everybody. So it's not you. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not some weirdo who has issues bending and nobody else has issues bending. We all had issues. We all have issues with these things, okay? So just welcome to the club, all right? But how can we fix this? Great question. I'm glad you asked. We can fix this by a little intonation technique, a little trick that I've used for years with my students. What is intonation? Intonation is essentially keeping the instrument, whether it's your voice or a guitar, keeping it in tune throughout whatever it is that you're doing. So we can tune our guitar, but once we start bending notes and what have you, it can sound like it's out of tune because it's that the bend wasn't effective. It wasn't doing what it should be doing, or you weren't doing what you should be doing, bending it to the right pitch. That would be what's considered intonation. So how do we fix this? It's super easy. First, what we do is we need association. You know me, I'm a big fan of association. It's a great way to learn things. We need something, a reference, a benchmark, something that's going to be our protocol or our specific thing that we're going to measure everything else by. So in this case here, whatever note that we're bending to, we want to just fret it before we actually bend to it. Why? Because we have our benchmark. We have it set in our ear. Okay, that's the note. Now let's bend to that note, right? When you get in your car in the morning or whenever you get in your car, you have a destination in mind. So you know what success looks like. When you end up there, hey, you did good. So we need this before we bend, or at least as we're learning to bend. Now later on you won't have to do this, but to start, we need to know what our destination is, and that's what we're doing by actually playing the note first. So for instance, a lot of these bends occur on the first, second, third strings. You can bend anywhere. Again, there's no rules, but effectively what you want to do is you want to bend to a specific note, and it happens oftentimes on the first, second, and third strings. So let's talk about this. A lot of times in blues, we're bending this up to the 1, the tonic, right? Right there's our 1. Now, what I want to do, what you want to do is you want to hit that note. This, in this case here, the tonic. It's an A, so I'm going to play it. Then I'm going to go to whatever note I want to bend up to the target note. This is our target note. And I would take that note that I want to bend up to the target note and I hit it, but I have this fresh in my ear so I can, and I'm literally going to use my ear. But Eric, how do you do it? You use your ear. But Eric, how do I do it? You use your ear. This is what I'm saying. This is the way you do it. You have it fresh in your ear, you have a reference, and then you bend up to it. But Eric, I'm pitch deaf. No, you're not pitch deaf because sound is pitch, and if you're hearing this sound right now, you're hearing pitches. It's impossible for you to not hear the pitch if you can hear this sound right now. So that's a good sign that you're not pitch deaf, okay? Here you go. Now, it's going to sound squirrely at first. You know why? It's a new technique. It's a new language, and you're getting used to it. So again, just like all the greats, you're going to have issues with it at first. That's why we practice. That's it. So now we did this on the first string, same thing. I'm hitting the target pitch. In this case here, it's the 10th fret of the first string. I'm purposely not bending it or putting too much pressure on it. If I did that, then I'm going to put it at a pitch. So I'm pressing too hard there. It's going out of pitch. So I'm going to hit it nice and soft. That's my target note. Now I know. I know what success sounds like. It sounds like this. So when I hit it, I'll know that I've reached the right note. Make sense? Okay, now, if we're going to ramp this up a little bit, we need to do a few different things. Number one, you could practice half-step bends, whole step bends, 1.5 step bends, even 2 full step bends. Beyond that, you're probably getting into break your string territory, okay? I've broken my strings bending to a full step, not a half step, but I've done it with full steps before, definitely with 2 steps. I've broken strings before. Unless your guitar is tuned down a little bit, it's a string breaker, okay? So if I wanted to tune a half step or bend a half step up, same technique. Now what you want to do is at first, the speed doesn't matter. How long it takes you does not matter. What matters is accuracy. So you got it fresh in your ear, you bend up to that note and you're like, yeah, that was it. Doesn't matter how long it took you to get there. Kind of the step 2 of this is you're going to be able to do it faster. You're going to be able to get to that pitch real quick. Make Makes sense? And you'll do that with your higher full step or full bends as well. And after some time, you're going to feel and you're going to hear what it sounds like to do that with consistency. The only thing that's going to get you there is repetition. So that's good news, by the way, because that means you can get there. It's just a matter of doing it more and more times. I wish I could say you just take this pill, sell your soul to the devil. Don't do that. But yeah, you know, it's just not like that where you just do one thing and all of a sudden you got it. It's something that you have to practice. Now later on you won't have to practice it as much because you've got it under your fingers and you're used to your strings. Now, another thing that you can do to help with this situation is you can get thinner strings. For the most part of my life, I've played 10s through 52 when I was playing hard rock and that sort of thing. Then I went down to 10s to 48s or 46 and then 10s to 42s. Now I'm playing 8s and 9s on my guitars. I don't even play 10s anymore. Why is that? Well, recently this year I decided to play some thinner gauge strings because I just wanted to do it. I wanted to try it. Hadn't done it in years. And I was so surprised to find that everything was so much easier to play, all my bends and everything else. It took a little getting used to. I had to bending with those 10s, it was a little bit harder. So getting used to the 9s and the 8s meant that I was over bending a little bit at first. So I'd go for a pitch, right? And I wasn't using this technique, and I might just be like, over bend it. So I had to come back to my technique here, work with it a little bit and be like, okay, now the strings are a little bit slinkier, right? They're a little bit thinner, so it's easier for me to bend so I don't have to use as much effort. So that's another thing to consider when you're doing this. String gauge is really important because it's just gonna make things easier. Use this technique to actually start playing with the proper intonation. Then eventually you'll be able to do it faster like I did by bending up very quickly. And then the third part of it is not using that target note at all by just bending and using the track that you're working with or the band that you're working with. You're gonna know that you've got this, okay? I promise you, you can do this. It literally is just a matter of practice. My friends, I'm here to help you. I'm sorry I can't get to the chat, the live chat. You know about our new format. We're getting in, we're getting out very quickly, so we're doing things a little bit differently, but I have many different ways that you can get in touch with me. If you're a UGS Pro, friends, you can get in touch with me all day. You know this, because I do it. I communicate with you all day long. You can get in touch with me on all my social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all those places, especially Instagram, because I can return voice messages there. So do that. If you want to drop a DM to me, I would love to answer any questions you have. Also, friends, you can get in touch with me via chat now. That's right. 1-833-744-0154, 833-744-0154. If you click on that button right there, friends, you can get in touch with me. And the only thing you have to do is type in UGS to that number, and we will be in comunicato. Yeah, that's right. And in fact, I will set you up with the Unstoppable Guitar System Standard at that number right there. If you type in free, F-R-E-E. You don't have to do anything. Just type in F-R-E-E. I will be in touch and I will get you connected so you don't even have to worry about it. It'll be in your inbox. That's right. Friends, I'm here to help you. That first link below is another way that you can get into the Unstoppable Guitar System Standard. I give that for free for anybody who needs help with guitar, because that's what I want to do, is I want to help you play guitar. And there's literally nothing that you cannot do on this instrument. No thing that you cannot do if you apply yourself, if you have that drive, and if you do the practice. I'm here to help you step by step. Please let me help you. Okay, friends, I'm out of here. Love you. Hit that first link below. See ya.